We're simply here to try to help answer questions.
Yeah. But the actions are up to us.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. You can't force anybody to do anything. But I think if you decide, hey, I'm doing this, then we are all for you. I'm your number one cheerleader. I'm going to make this happen. I want to help follow up with you. I want to give you some guidance along the way. But you do kind of have to think, okay, I'm doing this.
Obviously, we've got, let's say, our guide with us. We have our budget system that's going to work for us.
Okay.
How do we really stay focused on those long-term goals though, right? Because I'm going to get back into that 40% habit, those day-to-day things.
Yeah.
How do I kind of refocus and reframe things?
Yeah.
Are goals going to help me with that?
Absolutely. So I think we have to have those in front of us, right?
Okay.
You know that you're 42% more likely to actually achieve a goal if you write it down. Isn't that incredible?
That's incredible.
That's almost half. That's almost 50%. And so because you write down your goals, I mean, think about it. You're thinking about your goals so often, but it's just in your head. What else is going on in your head? I mean, we are
a million
busy,
things. Yeah.
a million things. And so you take the time to write it down, and then most likely you're going to read it. And then you probably post it somewhere on your fridge or on your desk or somewhere, and you're going to read it again and read it again and read it again. And so there's a way higher chance that you'll actually achieve them because it's in front of you. So keeping goals in front of you is essential. But first, like you said, we must create them.
Yes.
Right? Because most of us know in the deep of our minds that we want to save money. We want to get out of debt. We want to plan for retirement. We want to buy our first house.
Yes.
But how do we get there? So it's creating the goals and then actually writing them down and then sticking to them, right? One thing that's essential, I think, is for us to slow down enough to actually make these goals achievable, attainable, right? There's actually an acronym called SMART goals, and maybe we'll link that in the description.
Yeah.
But that's specific goals, measurable, achievable, relevant, and then time bound.
Yes.
So the idea with that is, let's say you tell me, hey, I want to run a marathon next week. Are you a runner?
Heavens no.
Okay. So Kristen is like, hey.
Mad props to all the runners out there.
Mad
but
props.
I mean,
Mad props.
I'm all about yoga, not running.
Yeah. Yoga is like moving like a sloth. So
yes,
it's definitely not a marathon.
It's a little more, well, I won't say more. It's intentional.
It's very
that way
intentional.
for a reason,
yes,
right?
Yes. And it's difficult, by the way. Flexibility, all of that. Yes. So let's say that somebody says, hey, I want to run a marathon next week.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're an avid runner, unless you've been training weeks, months, and possibly even years, I'll look at you and I'll laugh a little bit and I'll say, well, that's impossible. Sorry. That's unlikely to happen. So the idea is, okay, let's say you say, I want to run a marathon next summer. Well, okay, that's about 12 months away. I think that you could probably do that. So what I like to do is kind of get that goal and work it backwards, right?
Yeah.
So you want to reverse engineer. Okay, I want to get there by next year. So that's 26.2 miles, right?
Yes.
That's too much. I'm not doing that. So 26.2 miles, how am I going to get there? So I want to be very specific. Okay, that's our goal. We measured it, specific, a marathon by when? By next summer, right? Measurable. Okay, I can actually measure that because I can say every month, I'm going to run X amount of miles. Every week, I'm going to run X amount of miles. Every day, I'm going to run X amount of miles, right? So it's measurable. You kind of work your way to it. Is it achievable? Not next week. Next year? Yeah, I think you could do that. Okay. I think even you could do that. Not me though. R, right, is the relevance. So is it connected to what I want my life to look like? Am I training in other platforms in different ways, right? And then is it time bound? Yes, it is. It's next summer, right?
Yeah.
So we want to create these goals. You're actually going to be able to reach one day, right? And I will say this, even though that's a big, audacious goal to run a marathon next summer, again, I would never do that. That's too much. But even then, I would say, hey, let's start a little bit smaller. Hey, I want to be the type of person that runs. I want to be the type of person that goes to the gym. I don't need to have a six-pack and be Mr. Athletic, but I want to be the type of person that lives a healthy lifestyle, right? So it's like you submit votes towards who you want to be by doing the small things every day. It's the small things. I like this quote, and hopefully I get it right. Successful people do consistently what others do occasionally. And the idea, again, it's not that everybody's out there, hey, I want to be successful, but most of us want to be successful with our money, right? 'Cause
Absolutely,
it's less
we do.
stress.
Yeah.
It's easy. You're actually headed somewhere. And so it's, okay, I want to have these consistent, small, incremental steps towards this big goal later.
Well, and I love what you said too about even identifying, right?
Yeah.
As a person that goes to the gym, identifying as a runner, identifying as someone that has financial, we'll say freedom, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a term thrown out there a lot. Maybe identifying as someone that, hey, yeah, I'm in control of my money. I don't
Yeah.
live paycheck to paycheck, or I might for now but I know in the long run where I'm going to be and that freedom it's going to provide.
Yeah. And that's difficult to do.
Yeah.
I will say, even for myself, I've worked out my whole life and been very active, but I would never say that I identified as a very fit person or someone who's always out doing exercise. And what that does is it limits who you are, simply just in that mindset. So instead, say, okay, I'm a person who enjoys broccoli. I'm actually starting to enjoy it. It's wonderful. But I'm a person who works out regularly. I'm a person who makes healthy choices. I'm a person who goes to the gym fairly often, right? So you start to, it's like, of course you say it, and that helps become a reality because you start to believe it. Again, remember, it's like you write it down. So you say it, you start to hear it, you start to believe it, you write it down, and then starts to become who you are. And so that's why I'm saying at the very beginning, like I mentioned, you can become whoever you want to be, especially in America. In America, the land of opportunity, you really can control almost anything, right? Most of your life, you can do that. So again, we got to control our controllables. Let's make some goals. Let's start to dream a little bit. Let's actually write down those goals because you're 42% more likely to achieve them. And then I would say, hey, find someone that you can share that with, whether that's a spouse, a friend, a financial guide, a boss, a coworker. Just tell someone because you're more likely to be held accountable. You're more likely to want to, there's that social pressure.
Absolutely.
Right? In fact,
yes.
What is, I think they say that you're the average of the top 5 people you surround yourself with.
Yes. I've heard
What's
that
also
before.
interesting about that is that I've heard that you will earn between 10 to 15% of the income of the top 5 people you surround yourself with as well, because you live a certain way. You might not eat out as often. You might save more, or the opposite. All your friends and family have the nicest cars. Nothing against nice cars. I love nice cars.
Yes.
All your friends and family have this. They're always eating out. Then again, by default, by that surrounding, that social pressure, you're going to fit in more into that realm. And you're also going to feel that, right? In your finances, in your pocketbook. And so it's just recognizing that, again, I have to control the controllables. I want to start to regain control of my life. And that is difficult. And not everybody wants that. I should say, not everybody wants to go through, in a sense, the pain of going through that. In fact, I was thinking of something I've heard this phrase be thrown out before. You have to choose your hard. And there's either the hard of living financially stressed out, financially broke. You feel the pain of, you work so hard. In fact, you're working overtime. You have nothing to show for it. That's hard, right? But the other side, it's not that it's like easy. It's also hard. The other side is it's hard to make a plan for your money. It's hard to not spend it all on everything, right? Because I want to.
Yes.
It's hard to actually consistently do the right thing, the small right thing over and over and over. So choose your hard.
Yeah.
It's not that one is easier than the other. No. Everything in life worth doing requires work.
Yeah.
Requires some pain. But with that pain, there's something more that can be brought out of that, right?
Yeah. The pain of bringing your lunch to work every day.
Yeah.
Right. Versus just going out to eat.
Right.
Or, to your exercising, running example, right? The pain of going through running every day to lead up to that marathon or that satisfaction of running. And so I love that outlook because, budgeting, we do need to put that positive spin on it and really take control.
Yeah.
And, one thing that I've heard when it comes to budgeting in particular is, and kind of what you've already alluded to, is that mindset, right?
Yes.
And that's really what it's about. And I think that in our day and age, we're a lot more aware of how much our mindset can affect our actions.
Yeah.
And so I love that you're, helping us understand that. What other thoughts do you have around how not only we can obviously, yes, make goals, make your budget, get that plan in place, get that action partner, if you will, where that's going to hold you accountable. What happens when we fall off of our plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, you want to have that plan, you want to have that dream, right? You want to have the tangible steps you want to shift that dream into a reality.
Yeah.
But what happens if you start to fall off the bandwagon? What happens if you fail, right? One thing that we do as financial guides often is we set the expectation that, you've been doing something for so long that don't expect to be changing overnight, right? So do expect some hardship, do expect some failure, falling down, and that's okay. That's okay, because it's going to happen because you're coming up against months, years, decades even of habits and spending, right? Just kind of the way you've done it. So don't beat yourself up if that happens. If that happens, just get back up. Call me, send me an email. Let's talk about it, and let's help you kind of get re-encouraged again towards making those small incremental steps. So again, it kind of going back to the goals, let's say you want to run a marathon next week, very unlikely. But if you shoot for next year, you're going to take those small incremental steps and it becomes second nature. It starts, you're going to mess up, right? Let's say that one week you wanted to run, 20 miles in that week and you just hit 10. That's all right. That's all right. Just keep going. I've heard it said, put one foot in front of the other. Just keep going.
Yes.
So if you fall, it's not going to be if, right? It's going to be when.
When, yeah.
So when you make a mistake, when you overspend, when you overdraft your account, when you recognize your credit cards maxed out again, perhaps after all that work that you've done, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. But instead, just kind of keep going, get focused, and recognize, hey, I'm going to go back to the drawing board, make some goals, maybe make them a little bit more achievable. Right? Just, you've heard the phrase by James Clear, 1% better.
Yes.
Just little improvements. And that adds up to a lot. So if you make a mistake, first of all, I think, hey, I tell my members, expect that to happen. It's going to be okay. But do keep going. Don't give up. Don't quit. Because that's the easy default, right?
Yes.
That's our nature, is to take the easy route.
Yes.
And so we have to do the right thing, not the easy thing.
I love that. And I love how you said to choose your hard.
Yeah.
Right. Everything in life is hard. Why?
Yeah.
Why does life have to be so hard?
Yeah.
But we do make those choices, and we're, in control of those. So I love that. So Peter, I love that we're talking so positively about budgeting and financial plans and all the things. But let's just say I'm not ready to divulge all of my skeletons of financial issues, right? Okay. And then what happens when I do stumble off of this plan that I've made?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, you're right. It's a sensitive topic. In fact, sometimes even that word budget can be like a buzzword, like a trigger word, like, oh, don't even say that. When I asked you earlier, when I use the word budget, what do you think of? And someone on our financial education team, Scott, he said it's a super awesome life plan. And that's so true. I mean, if you can just incorporate that with your finances, it's how do I make this super awesome life plan work with my finances, right? And it's so true that it's very sensitive in nature to talk about money. No one talks about money, not even parents to their kids, right? So often. I don't say always, but so often that's the case. And so first of all, like I mentioned earlier, we want to acknowledge that I don't expect you to know much or any of this at all. And typically when I acknowledge that to someone, they like some walls that come down, because like, hey, don't try to prove anything to me. And I sometimes, of course, interact with people like that. They're just trying to prove everything they know to me. And I'm like, listen, I'm here to help. Yeah. Right. So just know that we're just here to help. It's not taught. I don't expect you to know too much of this. The other thing is, I do reassure them it is a confidential service. Mountain America does offer our financial guide program for members and non-members. It's a free service. In fact, I've kind of done some research, and nationwide, a financial counseling service is typically between $150 or $250 per hour, like per session. So the fact that Mountain America cares
Yeah.
enough about their members. I mean, I would say so much about their members to offer that for free. And I would, like I mentioned earlier, it is, to make it clear, it's free to members and non-members, to anybody. So if you got a friend, family, cousin, anybody, hey, just say, go online or contact a branch and let's set up an appointment to talk through your finances. I do set the right expectation right off the bat that we can't work magic. So
Right.
we're here to help, but I can't just make $2,500 extra show up in your bank account every month. But I'll help you get there. I'll help you kind of make a plan to get there, but it's not going to be an overnight fix. And again, we're so used to that. So
Right.
switching people's mindsets to expect the right thing is, hey, it's okay. Also, I help draw out some of the good in a sense. So everybody has something good in them. Everybody has courage inside of them. Sometimes it just needs drawn out a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. So helping
Yeah.
people to think, I can breathe. There is hope. It's going to be okay. So helping people process through that is important.
Yeah.
Also, I help them realize that everyone struggles, including myself, that I've struggled with money. And in fact, I sometimes still struggle with that Amazon button. Right. And so it's okay. It's okay. We'll just kind of process through this, but it's confidential. I don't really expect you to know too much of this because we're here to help. With that being said, I think you had asked about what happens if people mess up or they're unable to meet their goals.
Yeah, we know that we're going to not be perfect, right? We've been imperfect up to this point. We know we need a plan in place. To expect that I'm going to stay within that eating out budget every single time, right? Or eating out amount every single time is not realistic.
Yeah.
So what happens when I do, I totally messed up. How do I get back on track?
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to mention too, with the different types of spending plans we mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
please know, and I hope that this is clear enough for our audience, that you can always borrow from different categories.
Yeah.
It's not like I mentioned, the whole eating out thing, you have a limit. But again, you set that limit. I didn't. Right?
Yes.
So you create your boundaries of what you want your financial life to look like. But it's okay if you run out of money. And if you need to borrow from some other category, that's okay because it's your money. And it's okay if you dip into the credit card every once in a while. That's not a problem. These are your goals, right?
Right.
So it's not a problem if, someone doesn't hit their goals because I don't hit all my goals. And that's just part of life. We're human beings, right? We have
Yes.
emotions and we fall sometimes. But, how do we keep people motivated, right? During the first interaction, we do help set the expectation of we're not going from 0 to 100 because that's tough.
Yeah.
And that's not sustainable. You can't sustain that.
Right.
That pace is too fast. And most often people want to change overnight. And they're like, I want it now, right? Because again, we're so used to the drive-through mentality of
Yes.
microwave, hit 30 seconds, it better be ready, right? We're so used to the instant gratification. So I just remind them, hey, it's okay if you don't meet your goals. It's okay if you fall off the horse. It's okay. We'll get you back on your feet. Let's talk it through. I'm here to inject courage into you. I'm here to help lighten you up and take some of the burdens off so that you can actually achieve these goals.
Yeah. So with
Right?
that being said, this financial guide is not just a one-time thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
I can call again, let's say when I've fallen off that horse
Yeah.
and don't know what my next step should be.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah.
Okay.
So in our interactions, again, it's a free service to anyone. A lot of this does come down to personal initiative, to personal hunger. But let's say that we meet, and some appointments are a one size fits all. We've got some credit situations. Let's talk you through there's a solution, right? A plus B equals C. But more times than not, it's emotions, it's like psychological, it's helping people look at certain things. And so if they want the extra help and if they're willing to take some of those like maybe homework steps or those steps of follow-ups, we are not just more than willing, we want to meet with people more than one time.
Okay.
And again, it's a free service. And so I have lots of members who were on our 5th appointment and they've done one thing and then they submit that budget form. It's all filled out and they're doing their best. And I say, hey, this is great. And maybe I'll bring a couple, feedback points and a couple things maybe that could be done differently. I'm never super hard on them because again, nobody likes it when someone's hard on you. And so
Yeah.
I don't like that. And so I try to give some extra mercy, some grace and just, hey, it's okay, not a problem. And so we just help give them through some like practical steps and even redirection of what the next step should be.
Okay.
Again, something we never do is we never tell members what to do. We help them come to their own conclusions of what their own goals and values are.
Yeah.
And then, hey, are you happy with this? And most of the time they will say, yeah, I love the way the money is going. Not a problem. Or actually, I'd like to change it up a little bit. And we help give some ideas and help them brainstorm. And so if they want to meet again the second time or the third time, or let's say I've had this where a member moved out of country and it was in a relationship and then they broke up and she had to move back. And of course, very confidential, never sharing information, but we met again is an entirely new topic, new situation. And so whether it's an ongoing follow-up or it's just life changed,
yes,
or I got married, or I had kids, or I got a new job, we're here for you. We're here to help talk you through that process. And so, yeah, again, don't feel like you're alone. We definitely do follow-ups. And again, those are free to anybody.
Yeah. So when it comes to financial guides and your role as a financial guide, help us understand what it is that financial guides do and then maybe what they don't do.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, we are a small team, and it's actually been a newly produced department, and I think about the last 2 years or so. So we're really focused and very specialized in helping members with their values and their goals and helping them achieve what is it that they're wanting to do. And so it's helping members with that. And so a lot of it is if someone comes in with a question, or maybe they have some goals, or they have a stressor or a situation where they're really feeling down and they just don't see a way out. So we help them process through that and help them, create a plan to kind of get there. And so we talk about credit, we talk about budgeting, we talk about savings, and even the beginning portions of retirement savings and what that looks like. We talk about behaviors actually a lot, and habits and goals. And so it might seem very like, what do you talk about? But we talk about really anything that the member wants to talk about, helping someone build their business. So a lot of things like that. There are some limitations though. So for example, we're not CPAs. We can't talk about taxes. We also are limited by not being able to really dig too deep into retirement. So for example, we'll talk about principles and ways that you can kind of save for the future. But if you're wanting like specific advice, I really would encourage you to talk with one of our retirement specialists at the branches. You can also look that up online, and they have a lot of information for you there. So for example, we also don't help members with like applying for a loan or helping people to file for bankruptcy, but we do work with GreenPath. They actually do offer bankruptcy counseling, and they can kind of help you with that as well. Just to give you a reminder, all of this is free. So what's beautiful about the financial guide team is that we don't have an agenda. It's not like I'm here trying to, twist you to go a certain way or to buy a product or anything. No, we're simply here to talk you through what's important to you, or what's the problem right now, and help get you out there and go to the next step. And so it's a beautiful thing. We also don't necessarily help you fix your credit. So I can't like call your collection agencies for you and pay them off, but I can help answer your questions and tell you what's the right way to do it, what things you should be cautious about, and trying to help show you how to get that fixed up. But we work with lots of partners. So with GreenPath, we have lots of partners in the branch, and of course, Service Center. So I really would encourage you, if, like I mentioned before, it is free. So if you've got a friend, family, cousin, members, non-members, team members, anybody that wants to use it, we're simply here to try to help answer questions.
Yeah, but the actions are up to us.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. No one's going to force you. You've heard the phrase, right? You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And the idea is you can't force anybody to do anything, right? But I think if you decide, hey, I'm doing this, then we are all for you. We're like, I'm your number one cheerleader. I'm going to make this happen. I want to help follow up with you. I want to give you some guidance along the way. But you do kind of have to think, okay, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And it's okay if we don't meet all of our goals, but let's just get back up every time, right? I like this idea. There's a story of a captain who brought his Navy ships with him, brought his military with him to conquer this island. And what's interesting is when he got there, he turned around and told his soldiers, and he said, burn the ships. And if you think about that, it's like, well, hold on. We're trying to conquer an island. And the whole idea, the representation of that is I'm doing this.
We're
I'm
not going
so
back.
committed.
Yeah.
There is no way to go
Yeah.
back. The ships are burned. And so if we can change our mindset sometimes, I know that's kind of extreme,
Yeah.
very radical, but sometimes it takes something radical to say, I'm no longer doing that. Maybe I'm cutting up my credit card. Maybe I am taking some extreme measures to make some big life adjustments, right? So we're conquering this island. We will conquer or die trying. Right. So we're burning
Yeah.
the ships. And so I love that idea. Again, not everybody's all about that.
Yeah.
But just trying to help people dream again, dream in a sense where your life could look like exactly what you want it to look like.
I love that. And so you mentioned, specifically with retirement, right? We have additional retirement experts that we can put people in touch with. Is that free too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So we're not just passing people off to have to go pay a $500 fee to talk to somebody.
That's such a good point. Yeah. Our retirement specialists, very similarly, just kind of listen to your needs. What are your goals and help guide you in the right way. And yeah, they don't charge anything. And so they'll be able to, I would at least say, hey, talk with someone. If you're curious, if you're interested, if you have some money set aside or you're trying to build up to have some money set aside later on, definitely reach out, use all the resources that we have. Mountain America really cares. And again, the financial guide position, what we do as counselors, as coaches, it just shows we've got no agenda. Mountain America really does care and helping our members be the best version of themselves. I love it.
Awesome. What are some other tools that we have as resources for these people that we help?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned earlier, if you go to macu.com/guide, that'll take you to our financial education page. So there's a ton of websites. There are a ton of links to blogs that we've written. There's a budget that's fillable that you can fill that out. In fact, there's something called Bonsai. I know it's been mentioned here before, but it's like an interactive tool that you can, it's like for learning. It even teaches younger people. But the idea is there's a lot of resources out there. So of course, there's a financial guide. You can talk to us directly. You can also, I would say, hey, check out that website, macu.com/guide. And of course, another great resource, I think sometimes we overthink this or overlook it, is we've got our service center. We do have our branches. In our branches and in our service center, we have experts there that will help you process through things or maybe even actually apply for a loan. And if they think, hey, this member would probably benefit by going deeper, or maybe it's something outside of our wheelhouse, they will absolutely send them over to the financial guide. So just know that, I want to say we always want to use all of our resources, all of our tools, right?
Yes.
Again, it is conditional if they're hungry enough, if they want enough, if they're resolute enough. But even if you have 1% of hunger, I'm all for you.
Okay.
We're going to help you get there.
I love that. So tell me, I'm just curious, and of course, being confidential, do you have examples of maybe a success story of someone coming and working with you or another financial guide and taking this, again, this finances by the horns and seeing themselves through success?
Absolutely. Yes. So, one person that comes to mind, without saying names, of course, is, we had an appointment set up. We had emailed back and forth just to answer some questions, some preliminary questions, and of course to confirm the appointment. And I think the day before I gave her a call and she answered the phone. She's like, hey, actually I want to cancel tomorrow's appointment. And I said, yeah, not a problem. What happened or what's going on? Or can we get you rescheduled basically? And she said, I just feel so much shame talking about my finances. And I don't want to talk about it. And that was a great opportunity because I was able to share with her something we shared earlier, but just the fact that everyone struggles and that we're here for you. It is a confidential service. We're here to help give you a plan, and you don't have to do it perfect. Nobody does it right, but they're trying to do their best. And so I was able to kind of, in a sense, convince her, no arm twisting, but she came the next day. We had the appointment the next day, and she's radically changed. I mean, we were able to talk through some things, help create a plan for her, helped her with her budget, helped her with some spending, some overspending, some credit, the whole scope. And she sent me an email, I think shortly after, and said, wow, that was exactly what I needed. And I'm so thankful that you even helped talk me through to kind of convince me to open up. And I think that's what a lot of people need is it's okay. Let's talk it through. And so that was a very unique situation. Also, I've had it where I've actually dealt with other like actual life coaches and life counselors who that's their role. She was a self-employed life coach and just got into a rut for a couple of months and just was really hard and really down on herself. And, that caused her work efficiency and her desire to even produce and make money to really go down. And so she found herself in a hole financially as well, of course, in addition to emotionally being discouraged and depressed.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was able to help her kind of process through that and get her back on her feet. And she was, back to the game like the week after, and really we stayed in touch a couple of times and helped her to see, hey, there is hope. Let's get back up. It's not a problem if you weren't able to meet certain goals, or that in fact some, maybe even a personal choice that you made caused some debt, right?
Sure.
That's okay. Let's help you get past that. And so help a member like that. And I also have one other person, last person. I was thinking about how I've worked with her several times. This lady who was in a relationship and moved back out of country, and then COVID hit, and then they shut down that country, and then the relationship ended up not working out, nor did the other job that she had been studying for here in the US and the other country. Kind of complicated, but she moved back, and we were able to talk for like the third or fourth time and help her process the new situation. And even going a few steps backwards, is that along the journey in the process, she was making huge strides, and she was saving all kinds of money and meeting these goals, and she got excited. And I think that's something that if we can help people get excited about, get them motivated, get their own wheels turning, their own excitement level. Again, that's why I don't tell you what your finances should look like.
Yeah.
Because that won't last. That's not sustainable. So helping them to come to their own conclusions of what they actually want their money to look like, it goes further. It goes miles. And you can become unstoppable because you decided that, right? And so, yeah, there's all kinds of stories, but those are a few.
So Peter, to close out here, what is the one thing, if you could tell everyone, that you would suggest that they do to help improve their financial life?
I think it might sound too simple, but it's to slow down. I was thinking about it this morning, and I was kind of just talking to myself, thinking, why is it that sometimes we don't do the things we really want to do?
Yeah.
I want to save money. I want to get in better shape. I want to eat healthier. I want to plan for a good retirement. I want to buy my first car. I want to move into my first house. What are the obstacles? What are the hurdles? And I think so often it's like we create boundaries and we create these hurdles around ourselves that no one really placed there. And because of our busyness, because of being an American, because of not making a plan, because again, simply just not knowing what you don't know. It's no one's fault. You just don't know. I don't know, right? So slowing down enough to take inventory and just to recognize, hey, my life could actually be quite incredible. And we want you to live your absolute best life. And so it's, again, helping members to just process through some of the baggage that we all have and giving them some hope that, hey, what if you actually slow down enough to dream? What could your life look like? What have you always wanted to do? What have you always thought your life would look like? And then outside, things came in and kind of affected it, or maybe personal choices of overspending or go on vacations that you shouldn't have. So it's, again, slowing down, taking inventory, and then starting to dream and recognize, hey, there could be a way better life. And it doesn't have to be like this scraping by. We're not called to be like barely scraping by. We're made to thrive, not to barely survive.
I love that. Well, so we can all thrive if we just simply slow down and take that time to dream, but then have the action
Absolutely.
behind it.
Right.
So,
what was it? Do what you love and all the money will follow you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
Pet my dog, ate my pizza, took a nap.
Okay.
And now we wait.
I love it. Well, you guys, you've heard it from Peter. Pet the dog, eat your pizza, take a nap, and wait, or put it into...
do something about it.
Yes, and do something about it, indeed. So thank you so much, Peter, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun.
Yes, it has indeed. And thank you all for joining as well. And we will see you on the next episode of Guiding You Forward.